Welcome to the
Man,
show.
I've been listening to the show. I'm like, man, I am on the right show. So I didn't heard Exhibit, and then I didn't heard Adam talk about strip poles, and so I was
There we
like,
go.
man, I'm on the
You're
right show.
you're in the right place. So why don't you give us a for anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you give us a quick intro on who you are and what you do best?
Oh, so I just own a consulting firm, and we focus on workplace mental health and
Huge.
employee well-being and
Yeah.
stress management and leadership development and management development. So we do all those type of things.
I love it. And typically when you're helping clients, what are the types of clients you're helping? Do you have like a similar type of client that you're helping, or is it just all across the board?
Yeah, it's all across the board. So I work with a lot of government agencies. So I came out of government work,
Yeah.
being I was like a strategic advisor and a consultant for the government. So I do a lot of government work. So I know what that looks like in terms of working in the government. And then I work with a lot of nonprofits too, and then medium to large organizations.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're gonna have a chat about something which at first I was like, how many people does this really affect? And then I actually started thinking about my own career. And then suddenly I realized I've run into this very thing quite a bit. We're going to talk about nepotism in the workplace. So I thought an appropriate place to start would be just to even define like what is nepotism and for anyone who might not be familiar, how would you define that in the
I would
workplace?
just define nepotism as someone who gets an opportunity based on their family background, right?
Yeah.
It's not based on merit. It's like I come from a certain family, and I was able to get this opportunity to work in a certain position or a job just based on that relationship that I have.
So
So that's good. And the reason nepotism came up, and I thought this was just a great topic, and I'm not an expert in it, is because there was just this big hula around LeBron James and his son Bronny James in terms of should he had been drafted to the Lakers, and so nepotism was this thing that came up, and so I thought it was a great conversation to have.
Yeah, now thinking about it, I feel like this actually happens a lot in the sports world, but obviously in the work world it happens. And again, I was thinking, have I experienced this? And then I thought back, and near enough, every single place I've worked in, there has been either a family member, like a child or a niece or nephew, that is related to top leadership in the company. And so I'm curious, do you have like any data in terms of like how many workplaces this actually affects, or how many people are saying like nepotism is affecting them in the workplace?
Well, I think you just said one area, and we know this to be true, is sports. We know it
Yeah.
happens a lot in the NFL. One of my favorite, I always tell people, one of my favorite teams, of course, I come from Dallas. I'm from Dallas, is the Dallas Cowboys. So we know Jerry Jones. We know, we know Bill Belichick and his son. We
Mm.
know the Los Angeles Rams and the Spano family. We know Chris Collinsworth and his son Jack and Andy Reid. So the list can go on and on. But personally, just some anecdotal type of things that happened to me. I don't have a lot of great data on it, but I remember when I was working for a particular organization, and at the time, the president's nephew was the head of HR.
Oh, wow.
And this is extremely interesting because nobody thought they were going to be able to go to HR if they had some type of complaint, or maybe there was something really going on within the culture. They was like, well, who do we go tell? Who do we go
Wow.
say something to? So they was a lot of people was always
Did
had a
did they
lot
have
of
any
anxiety.
qualifications at all for HR, or is it just like
So here's the thing: he did have the qualifications, so he
okay.
went and got his certification. He did all the work, but I think if you would have looked inside the organization, there would have been somebody more qualified. And so it was like he just came out of the blue, right? And it was like, oh, well, his nephew is now the HR director. When you know there's people that's been in positions or that's have years of experience working in HR, and then this happens. So what you see is it's not just based on merit, that is based on that relationship that they have, or they come from that certain family. So that's the conversation that we have. Like, should nepotism should be happening in the workplace? And we know it happens.
Happens a
Um,
lot.
it's a lot, right? We know it happens a lot, and so how do we deal with that? What does that look like? And if you work in an organization that is happening, how does an employee, see like, hey, I have a career path, but there's so much family that is in the workplace. It's really hard to deal with. Most people that I know that have experienced that, it's never been a good experience. People that I
No,
know
and
worked in family organizations.
I did pull some stats on this. So this is incredible. Okay, 29% of people, and this is according to Career Builder, 29% of people report they've gotten a job through their family member. And then Harvard Business Review shows that 70% of family-owned businesses in particular employ family members. So we are, maybe this whole thing about treating you like a family is in reality because they are your family. But going back to like how this affects employee morale? Like, what are some of the things that how are some of the ways you've seen it impact morale and things like productivity and just feeling even safe in the workplace? How are some of those
Yeah,
things you've seen
I
it?
think it affects it a lot in terms of productivity and performance, and then people feeling like, individuals, especially if you're talking about that nepotism, family members getting that favoritism. And what can happen is they start to create. I heard earlier talking about toxic cultures. I deal with a lot of toxic cultures. I just heard that segment about Gen Zs, and he talked about Gen Zs want a positive work environment.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you get this really toxic culture. You get people that family members that fight in front of each other. They cursing each other out, and so that causes people to have a lot of anxiety. They feel really uncomfortable, especially if that person is their manager or they oversee their department. It's really hard to really work well in those situations, because what you see is a lot of anxiety. You see a lot of people just feel that it's just not a very healthy place for them. So yeah, it's for the most part, it's not a good thing.
What advice do you have in terms of policies that you can actually put in place to prevent nepotism?
Yeah, so I don't know if there are some policies that you can put in place, because when you start talking about owners, if we're talking about huge sports teams and you have the owner of the sports team putting their son in a coaching position, what can you do? Right?
Yeah.
What are you gonna say when it's been a part of the NFL culture for so long? What are you gonna say if you work at a family owned pizza restaurant and they want to put their cousin as the general manager of the family restaurant? Like, what policies are we putting in place, and then
Mm.
how are we going to implement those policies? So I just don't know what we can do. I just think people have to be mindful if there is some nepotism in place. Like, is it healthy in a way that you feel like you can deal with it? I heard you earlier talk about, is this the game you want to play? And so, if this is a game you want to play, you definitely have to know the rules. And so, if you're going to be in those type of environments, in those type of situations, just know what you're dealing with, and just play the game to the best of your ability.
Yeah, well said. Well, Michael, I appreciate all your insights. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, definitely on LinkedIn. And then you can go to my website, dickersoncg.com.
I did see that too.
Absolutely.
Did the
Yeah,
podcast
absolutely.
sponsored by Fountain, that was great,
Yeah.
and
Check
I
me
s
out on Adam. So, and Adam, hey, I want to be invited to the dinner in San Diego in Shram next year. I heard y'all had
I
some
wanna
good
be
food in
invited to
Chicago.
that too.
Yeah, Evan, if you hear this, I want to invite.
Well, I love that. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your insights here. Guys, go check out, Michael, connect with him on LinkedIn. We'll have those links, and, we will move on to the next segment of the show. So thanks, Michael.